This week one matchup between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Texas Longhorns may be one of the best matchups all season long, as we have this CFP semifinal rematch. Texas is back out for revenge against the Ohio State Buckeyes, who play host in this matchup. We preview it and more next. Now, before we get into the upcoming matchup, I want to talk about the previous matchup, which was not too long ago. As most of you watching this video know, Ohio State beat Texas in the CFP semifinal en route to going to the national title and then winning the national title. So Ohio State won that game 28-14, had a couple of huge plays. The strip sack fumble by Jack Sawyer sealed the game, but really one of the most impressive plays was the screen pass to Travion Henderson that went for 75 yards with 13 seconds left in the first half. That really put Ohio State back on top after Texas had tied the game at 7 apiece late in that first half. So with that in mind, I want to transition over and talk about the current game, and I really want to talk about the implications of this game first. So getting a little bit hypothetical here. I know not a lot of people's favorite, but we're just going to go with it as it is. And just start with Texas here. With a win, what would this really mean for Texas? It would mean that they're the undisputed number one team. I mean, Ohio State, wherever you look, is a top 5 team coming into this year, top 4, top 3 in my opinion. Texas is in the same boat. I have Texas ranked 1 and Ohio State ranked 3. So that's where I have this ranked. I'm sure everyone's ranking differs a little bit, but it's around the same. So it would really mean that Texas is the undisputed number 1, and they will finally exact that revenge game. I mean, they have lost to Ohio State, and that was a bitter loss, as that Texas team last year really could have, if they went to the national title game, I think they might have beaten Notre Dame. Notre Dame was very good. But Texas, I think, would have given them a real run for their money, and possibly they would have their first national championship game, and yet they came up short yet again. So this is a great way to come out. All the motivation is right there for them to win this game, and it would mean that they're the undisputed number 1, and they finally get that revenge win. Now, if they lose, that really does mean that there's a lot of pressure to win the SEC. But really, I mean, Texas fans will be livid if they lose to Ohio State, go 0-2 versus Ohio State in 7 calendar months. I mean, that is 2 giant body blows that Texas will have taken if they end up losing this game. And I mean, Sark has to take heat for this, much like how Ryan Day takes heat really to this day for losing to Michigan X amount of times. You know, Sark will have, if he loses this game, lost to Ohio State 2 straight times. And really, for an SEC Big Ten matchup, you're going to take a lot of scrutiny if you lose this game, especially on national television again. So really increased pressure to win the SEC. And really, I have doubts that this Texas team can go all the way if they don't beat Ohio State. Now, Ohio State's a very good team. Like I said, number 3 ranked team in my rankings. They're top 5 in most everyone's rankings. But there are teams out there that look better than Texas if Texas loses to Ohio State. Teams like Notre Dame, teams like Penn State, teams like Georgia. And Georgia has had its way with Texas. So really, I do question, can this team go all the way? Of course, they can bounce back. I'm projecting a lot, but that's really the purpose of this video, though, we have still a month yet to go before this game is being played. Now, shifting over to Ohio State, with a win, the chances that they repeat grow exponentially. A lot of people like Ohio State this season, think that they'll make the playoffs, think that they'll win a playoff game or two, but I don't see a lot of people picking them to repeat. I see virtually no one picking them to repeat, although I think that's a strong possibility if they win this game. If they don't win this game, you really get the feeling like you did when you saw Michigan crumble against Texas last season, where it's like, oh yeah, they are not going back to the national championship, much less the playoffs, after the way they played versus Texas. Now, that was a lot about how Michigan played, but the fact that Michigan lost to Texas early in last season really was an indicator, like, wow, this team is not last year's national championship team. And we're going to learn a lot about this Ohio State team, again, versus Texas. Kudos to Texas for scheduling these Big Ten games. I love it. But we're going to learn a lot about Ohio State. If they win, really their chances go up exponentially. And if they win, all doubt is erased. It really is. I mean, this team has been doubted. Ohio State is one of the most doubted teams out there. I'm convinced. I'm very much convinced. And their own fan base doubts them a lot too, whether they can go back and repeat as national championships, heck, even beat Michigan. Although I'm sure that there are Ohio State fans out there who think otherwise, and I love them. But there's a point being, there's a ton of doubt about this team, and you will see that doubt go away very quickly if they beat Texas, especially if they beat them in considerable fashion. Now, with a loss, this Ohio State team, it's really the flip flop syndrome here. All doubt will be erased if they win, but if they lose, the doubt will continue to creep in. Doubt's always going to be there for Ohio State. Everyone doubts Ohio State all the time, even when coming off of a national championship game. But doubt will continue to creep in. People will say that they have no chance against Michigan. People will say they have no chance against Penn State later. So zooming out here, as you may be wondering why I am continuing to ramble on about the hypotheticals with a win or a loss, but I say this to really show you guys how important a win is for both of these programs, even though both of these programs have sustained a lot of success, a ton of success between these two programs. Heck, Ohio State's the national champion. They're the reigning kings of college football, and yet this game does mean so much, which is why I'm trying to, hype it up a bit. Now we move on to the head-to-head matchup, and as you can see on your screen, it is very apparent what I did here. So let's just dive right in. So at quarterback, I gave slight lean to Ohio State. I really, really do like what Julian Sayin brings to the table. He's not elite at anything, but he's exactly what this offense needs. This offense has so many weapons, as we will get to very soon, and he just needs to be a distributor. He needs to get the ball to his playmakers. I think the difference between what Julian Sayin has to do and what Arch Manning has to do is that Sayin doesn't have to be the hero to win this game, but I think that Arch Manning has to be the hero to win this game, if that makes any sense. And talking about Arch Manning, I'm not completely convinced on him yet. I'm not completely sold on him yet. And for him to be the hero in week one of him starting a meaningful game, I think is a lot to ask for. Now, I'm not completely sold on Julian Sayin either, but I don't think that he needs to be the hero in this game. I don't think he needs to have a flashy stat line. I don't think he needs to have all the cards go his way in order to win, like I think Arch Manning has for everything to go his way. Now, does that mean that Arch Manning is a bad quarterback? No. Am I saying that? Absolutely not. I think that Arch Manning is a top 10 quarterback right now in college football, as I did that video a while back ago. I think I ranked him, eighth or ninth. But anyway, that's beside the point. I think that both quarterbacks are excellent. I give the slight lean to Ohio State. Now at running back here, I give the lean to Texas. These are two very good running back rooms. I mean, you have a ton of NFL talent in this, in both of these backfields, really. But what I go back to is that Ohio State lost a ton in the running back room. Travion Henderson and Keyshawn Judkins were two incredibly talented players, just so incredibly talented, and they lost them. Now, their third string running back, James Peoples, will most likely start, and they got the guy from, want to say, West Virginia in CJ Donaldson, and he was very consistent at West Virginia. But overall, I really like Texas's backs a lot more with Quintravious Wisner and CJ Baxter. I really like them a lot more experienced, and a lot more talented, in my opinion. Then you go to the wide receiver tight end. This is basically the receivers right here. And I mean, Ohio State has the best receiver room in the country, hands down. It's not even debatable. The gap between them and Texas is wide, and Texas is like 2 or 3, really. Right there with LSU and Ole Miss and Clemson, in my opinion. That would be my top 5 receiver rooms right now. Everyone knows about Jeremiah Smith, which is why I'm not going to be giving you his stats or his height or his weight, even though he did gain 20 pounds over the offseason or so, they say. But that's how good of a player he is that I don't need to say anything, and everyone's like, yup, that's wide receiver 1, that's the best wide receiver in the country. If he was in the NFL, he'd be the best wide receiver in the NFL as well. I firmly believe that. So when you have such a great player like that, it's hard to, follow it up. but they have two guys in Carnell Tate and Brandon Inniss, who I think are great compliments to him as well, and they should be open in this game because, and really every game that Ohio State plays, because everyone will be bracketing coverages, doing everything they can to stop Jeremiah Smith, and then once they go try and cover Inniss and Tate, that's when Jeremiah Smith springs open on a go route. I mean, it's just impossible to stop, you know? It feels like those old Chiefs offenses when they had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and they had Clyde Edwards-Helaire when he was really good, and it was like whoever you covered, someone was always open. Someone was always going to be making a play. And then, you had Patrick Mahomes back there doing Patrick Mahomes things. When everyone else was covered, he'd go, get a 20-yard run. So it really feels like that old Chiefs offense where it's like you can cover one of them. He's not going to make the catch, but that guy right over there is going to go make that catch because he's wide open because you went and covered that guy. If that makes any sense to you guys. Now, Texas is no slouch either. I said before that they're top 5 receiver room in the nation as well. They have Ryan Wingo, who's a great pass catcher. They're number one. DeAndre Moore Jr. as well, and then Emmett Mosley probably going to be that wide receiver 3 for them. But again, this room is not as deep as Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State goes 5 or 6 deep. I mean, you have Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Inniss, Quincy Porter, the freshman, Mylan Graham, the redshirt freshman. So you just got so many playmakers in this room, plus probably the best wide receiver coach in Brian Hartline in the game. So there you have it. I move on now to the offensive line. You can see those white lines there. I couldn't really decide who has the edge here. Both offensive lines are very similar in my opinion. I think that Ohio State is better at tackle, but I think that Texas is better on the interior. At tackle, Ohio State reached into the portal heavily for them. They got 2 guys in Ethan Onyanwa from Rice, one of the highest graded tackles out there. Plus, they got Philip Daniels, a 4-star transfer in from Minnesota, so I think that they have the edge at tackle. But Texas on the interior of their offensive line is very good. Cole Hudson's going to be their center. DJ Campbell returns at right guard, and I think that both those guys are excellent as well. And I don't necessarily trust Ohio State in the interior as well. They're playing a lot of backups from last year, so I'm really either way with this offensive line grade when it comes to Ohio State and Texas. I both think that both their offensive lines are imperfect, but they're about the same caliber in my opinion. Now, Texas in the front 7, as we move toward the defense here, is stacked. I mean, they're very stacked. They're going to be having Cole Brevard in at that nose tackle. Colin Simmons off the edge is one of the top 5 edge rushers, in the whole country. Ethan Burke at the other defensive end position is also a very nice addition. In Ohio State, yes, the defensive line has been a problem, has been a talking point for a long time, but really, I'm more concerned over Ohio State's size on the defensive line. They don't have anyone that's like this huge, big bruiser that's going to really wreck games. Caden McDonald could be that. I'm not saying that he couldn't. He's over 300 pounds, but no one else on this offensive line is over 300 pounds. Bu Atkinson was a very nice addition out of the portal. He's a guy that can go get you a sack on 3rd down. I really like that. Edric Houston has a lot of potential, but again, has yet to manifest it. And Kenyatta Jackson Jr. as well has, again, a lot of potential, but not a lot of playing time. That's really the deal with all 3 of those guys, which is why I really like the Bu Atkinson pickup. Again, this is not to say that Ohio State's defensive line is a slouch. I know so many teams that would take Ohio State's defensive line over their own, but that's just how it is. When you're Ohio State, you expect perfect at every position, and when you don't get it, you're upset, and people use it as a talking point. Now, Texas at linebacker, I side with them there as well. I really like Anthony Hill Jr. He's probably one of the best linebackers in the country, in my opinion. Leona Lafau, also really good at that linebacker position. Then Jalen Gillibo at that star position as well. I think but all 3 of those guys are studs. And at linebacker for Ohio State, they have Sonny Styles. That's their number 1 guy, but I slightly like Anthony Hill Jr. more than Sonny Styles when you match up that 1 versus 1 right there, which is why I gave the slight lean to Texas. Arvell Reese is also a really good linebacker as well. Then we go to the secondary, where I think Ohio State definitely has the edge at secondary. At corner, they have Davison Igbinosun. He needs to clean up his man skills, but he's great in zone, and he has a lot of interceptions to his name. And you also have Jermaine Matthews Jr., who I think will come along in a big way. A name to look out for this Ohio State team is Devin Sanchez, the true freshman, one of the best corners in the class of 2025. I think he might have been the best one, and I think that he is going to get a lot of snaps early, and I think he may even start halfway through the season. But in this game, I think he will make a lot of impact plays for them. Now, at safety, you have to go with Ohio State, as they have one of the best defensive players in all of college football. In my opinion, the best defensive player in college football. That would be Caleb Downs, and him alone nets Ohio State this edge right here. Michael Taffy's very good for Texas. I really like his approach. He went through the bad years at Texas. He's the lone guy who was on that very bad Texas team 3 or 4 years ago. So he knows what it's like, and he's a great safety, plays with a lot of heart. But I think that because Caleb Downs is the number one defensive player in the country, in my opinion, that would slide the edge over there. Then Ohio State has the decisive edge at special teams. Did you know last year Texas had 17 penalties on special teams? That's absurd. And that, I think, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but that may have a big impact in this game. And the other impact, the other side of that coin, is that Ohio State has a very good kicker in Jaden Fielding. They bring back their punter. And, with Caleb Downs back there returning punts, they can really score on any play. On any given play, they can score. They can score off of a punt return off of him, a kick return, etc. And they're very good. Now, coaching, I give a slight edge to Texas because I really like their coordinators, the offensive coordinator being Kyle Flood and defensive coordinator being Pete Kwiatkowski. I also like how Steve Sarkisian is very involved with the play calling, with everything on offense, both on offense and on defense. I do think that Ryan Day is a better head coach overall than Steve Sarkisian, but when it comes to the schematics and gameplay, which is going to be present in this game, I give the slight edge to Sark over Day in terms of play calling from that perspective, but also because I'm really, really not sold on the Matt Patricia hire for the defense, and I think that the defense will take overall a step back. I mean, they were the number one overall defense. How can they not take a step back? So I think they will take a step back. The question is how much. And again, I'm just not sold on Matt Patricia. I really like Brian Hartline as the offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach. I really like him, and I like a lot of this staff, but I like the staffs equally. But I just give the slight edge to Texas. Now it is time to get into the prediction. Now, before you click off this video, just because you're looking for a result, may I remind you to please subscribe to the channel. But I would say, hear me out as I walk through this prediction here. I think it all comes down to the Texas passing attack. Can Arch Manning really throw the football effectively against this Ohio State secondary? I think that that's the key matchup in this game. Texas's passing attack versus Ohio State's secondary. Now, Texas has some great receivers. Don't get me wrong, but I think Ohio State will be able to give them fits all game long. And I don't think Texas running the ball is going to win this game. It's going to take a great passing attack for them to win this game from Arch Manning. And I don't know if that's going to come, but I don't necessarily know that it's not going to come. And a couple more storylines to follow. Can Texas get pressure on Ohio State? Because if they can, I think that they win this game. Texas has some great edge rushers, and they bring a lot of pressure and from different ways and different formations, whatnot. And if they can get pressure and sack Julian Sayin a couple times, I think that they can come out of this game victorious. But on the flip side, if Ohio State can hold up against the pressure, if their offensive line can hold up, I think that Ohio State can win this game as well. And then my final storyline here, can Ohio State get to Arch Manning? On the flip side, if Ohio State can get to Arch Manning, the case is closed because it's going to be hard enough already passing on this Ohio State defense. If they generate pressure and they sack him a couple times, that's really going to be a key for this game. And another one that I don't have shown here for those that have stayed, I really think that Arch Manning's legs are key in this game as well. Can he escape out of the pocket? How does he adapt to the situations? How does he adapt to different coverages that Ohio State will be showing him? Now, with that being said, I'm going to be taking the Buckeyes in this game 31-30 in an instant classic. It has game of the century written all over it. It could go either way, but in the end, I think that Ohio State's special teams, like I hinted at before, will be the difference in this game. Texas, maybe they commit a penalty or two, maybe a roughing the kicker penalty, maybe they miss a key field goal. We've seen that before out of Texas kicker. And maybe Ohio State's kicker hits an absurd field goal like he did last season. Fielding was a very good kicker for them last season, and I think it'll come down to special teams. And that's where the decisive edge, in my opinion, went to Ohio State. So I take Ohio State by 1 point in an instant classic. Thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel. This is a young channel. It's a growing channel, but it needs your support. Buckeye fans, Texas fans, go ahead and subscribe to the channel below. Or if you're just visiting, you're not a fan of either team, I would also tell you to subscribe, as chances are your favorite team is going to be featured in a video or already has, as I have put out a ton of content as of late, and I will continue to all the way up to the season. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.